All right, we are here with some special members of the Beers and Breakevans community. We've got Sam and Hannah with us, who actually brought a property via Blue Wealth Property not too long ago. We thought we'd bring them in to go through their experiences today. And I guess my first question to both of you, who's the Supercoach player?
It's me, but Hannah often will hear my trades and she'll have to approve them.
So she's like the Tim Williams, is she?
Essentially,
I'm
yeah.
in charge.
You're in charge. Now, how keen is he on his Supercoach team? Spill the dirt for us.
Oh, we often have little discussions about how often we're on our phone looking at Supercoach because we'll be out for dinner or we'll be walking around and babe, I just got to check Supercoach real quick. I just got to check. So very keen.
My kind of guy. I back that. I respect that heaps. Now, who do we both go for? Which NRL teams are we going for?
I go for the Rabbitohs.
And I'm a Tigers battler. So not been a good year for either of us.
No.
It's rare that you've had a better year, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Shocking.
Yeah, that's true.
hurts.
It's been a while.
I don't want to call it too early.
It's been a
but you've had a
while.
slightly better year.
Only just.
Now, mate, your Supercoach team this year, how are they actually tracking? Where are you sitting? How many trades you got left?
It's going well. I've barely saved a trade, but I'm just in the top 4K rank. And I've gone purely based on vibes this year, not trying to overthink it, trying to bring in who's going well and not overdo it. And it's gone well, but I'm in trouble this week.
Yeah, I think we're all in a little bit of curry this week and the bye round's coming up. Who's been your best play and your worst play off the top of your dome this year, your biggest mistake and your best call?
I've had a 3-strike policy with Dom Young. Had him pre-season and then he got injured. And then I got him in, he got the -15, and then I didn't have him for his 150. But I did start the year with Matty Burton and Jermaine Hopgood.
Oh, Matty Burton, well played. Well played in this room. We'll get to that very soon, but well played. Very well played. Now, guys, obviously via Beers and Breakevans, you've been part of this very special journey with Blue Wealth Property, buying your own property. Can you run us through, because I guess for some people at home that would be sitting on the fence whether they make this jump or not, it is a pretty big thing to go from sitting here listening to two absolute galahs, 3 now, talking Supercoach week in, week out, to buying property. It is pretty wild when you think about it like that. And I'm sure there'd be a lot of people at home that would be sitting on the fence trying to make that decision. What would sort of be your advice to people at home? And Hannah, I might start with you if you don't mind, because I imagine from not being a normal listener to the podcast, probably seeing my head on the TV or on the phone or whatever, thinking, what on earth is this bloke doing? Yeah. How did it all sort of unfold for you?
So one day, not long ago last year, Sam said, I heard about this property investment company through this podcast that I listened to. It's a Supercoach podcast. He kind of gave me a little rundown on what you guys had spoken about. Then we looked up the company and we saw that they had a seminar happening, and I decided that I would go to the seminar, and that was about rent vesting. And from then on, we were pretty sold on the idea of buying a property as an investment rather than something to live in straight away. And then, the ball got rolling and we were both pretty much on board. But it is funny to think that this is how it all started.
Can I ask you, Hannah, the seminar you went to, obviously, we're always advertising them, and, me and Tim have been to a few and they've been fantastic for us. We've learned so much. What stood out to you from that seminar?
Well, from the start, I knew nothing about rent vesting. I'd never heard it until Sam kind of gave me a bit of a rundown from this podcast. So I was just shocked at the whole concept of it, but getting my head around the fact that realistically, we probably weren't going to get into the market in Sydney at this stage. So why not get into the market somewhere else that can make us money and go long term rather than look at the short term? It was just a completely kind of different perspective. It shifted our whole goals, and for the better, I think, long term. Yeah.
Sam, can I ask you, mate? I know if I went to my missus and tried to convince her that, for example, Tom and Eddie from Hello Sport are trying to convince me to buy property, I don't know how well it would go down, to be completely honest with you. But, mate, you obviously sold it well. How'd you run through that process?
Well, I think the timing helped. Like, we were at a position where we wanted to take a step. As Hannah said, Sydney, it wasn't a good time for Sydney, but we were ready to take a step, and we were on holiday at the time that this podcast that I heard came out. So maybe the fact that we're in a good mindset and just laid back, that helped. But I will say once, because Hannah attended the seminar, I couldn't actually go. So she took the leap and she came out of that and it just seemed really clear to her.
And mate, for me, my experience with Blue Earth Property and why we've always had such a good relationship is, well, for me anyway, I just feel like the education they provide is just second to none. Like if I had to talk about it and talk about property the way I do on the show 2 years ago, I would have stood next to no hope. I would have been in all sorts. And just the way that Tony and the team, honestly, just dumb everything down for me essentially has been an absolute game changer, mate. How have you found working with the team at Blue Earth Property?
It's been really unreal. Like we were the same. We really didn't know what was going on, but we wanted to do something. From the start, you can tell they know exactly what they're talking about. They have a lot of research behind it, but they do dumb it right down for you to the point where now I'm sort of preaching it to everyone else, saying, why wouldn't you do this? So they've been super helpful. The process was really smooth, and we're talking about going through the same process for them again, hopefully in the next year or so.
Yeah, really, really exciting. And I guess, guys, for, speaking on behalf of Tim, that's been the big thing that we've taken from just the education that we've gained from it and how, it hasn't been complicated. It's been so simple, laid out for us, and we've just been able to pick up on so many things that we just had no idea about not that long ago. We're going to bring Tony in a moment to have a conversation with him, obviously the head honcho over there at Blue Wealth Property. So we're going to bring him in now to have a chat with him and talk about the process from their point of view as well, because it is a huge thing to go from listening to me and Tim talk about Supercoach to buying property. But I hope that you can now see the process and just how straightforward it really is and how much you can get out of it.
G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Last time I saw you was on Caxton Street at Magic Round.
Mate,
a little bit worse for wear, just quietly.
I was worse for wear because we lost the game we should have won. All right? Don't worry about the alcohol or the Caxton Street scenes. I was blowing up. And who do you want to run into when you've just lost to Canberra? Friggin' Tim Williams. Like, he's the last bloke I wanted to see. I was hoping to avoid him amongst the 5 billion people that were there. But I walked straight into him as karma would have it.
Mate, 5,000 people on Caxton Street, people everywhere. I could hear Tony's voice from the other end of it. I could hear him coming, and there he was, blowing up about Canterbury. It's all happening. Mate, pretty special day for us here. We've been working up to this sort of stuff for quite some time.
It's actually really cool. The thought, when I called you that day and said, mate, I reckon, I'd like to support the podcast, and I reckon there's a lot of your listeners out there that would benefit from what we do and how we educate people. Making that jump for someone to listen to as you said, a couple of dribblers talking about Supercoach, to then jumping in and making what for most people is a pretty life-changing decision. That's a long bow, so I'm pretty satisfied by that. That's pretty cool.
And mate, he's gearing up to make a second life-changing decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's for me. That part doesn't surprise me because for most people, once they're in and they understand it, the concept of growing their portfolio and buying more property just makes all the sense in the world. But for most people, you've got to take that first step. Yeah. And for the demographic that listens to Supercoach, I reckon it'll be younger, and so the rent vesting concept is something that I want more people to understand. It's certainly for us the biggest, fastest growing part of our business.
Yeah.
A lot of Sydney-siders particularly, and maybe some of the people that live in the big cities, Brisbane, Melbourne, they're outpriced from the areas I want to live in. So having an alternative and not just giving up is something that we want to make clear to everybody. You have an alternative. There is a choice. Yeah.
And Tony, for people at home, mate, obviously, Sam listens to the podcast. Hannah, she goes to the seminar. What happens after that, mate? How does it all work once that's done? I don't know if you and Sam want to talk about the process that you guys went through, but I think for a lot of people at home, mate, I think the thing that holds people back in a lot of areas is just the unknown.
Absolutely. Look, for me, it's like anything. If you're looking for a solution for something in your life, you owe it to yourself to open your eyes to what's out there and just get yourself educated. What's the worst thing that could happen? Sam and Hannah came to the event and went, okay, this is not for us. They would, at minimum, would have learned a bunch of new things about the journey that they're on. So for me, I think That's always step number one. Yeah, putting yourself in a position to get educated. And then from there, it becomes pretty clear, what we're saying resonates with people. So obviously resonated with Sam and Hannah. And then from there, we're built to look after people. The business is built to look after people. There's 25 of us. We've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing it for 25 years, probably longer than Sam and Hannah have been around. But yeah, I'm pretty proud. Pretty proud, mate. Good on you.
Yeah, thanks. And we felt looked after the whole time. Not once did we feel pressured into it. Especially the first meeting was very much, this is what we do. Go away, have a think if it's what you want. And if it is what you want, come back and talk to me and we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
That's pretty cool. And in the days of, one of the big challenges now, Guru, is that Instagram's made everybody look the same. Yeah. Like I've been doing it for 25 years. Blue Wealth's 15 years old. I've got 25 staff. But you can build a profile on Instagram that makes you look as good as Blue Wealth. Yeah. Guru Property can start tomorrow. And with some good marketing and some smoke and mirrors, look like us. So that's sort of leveled out the playing field a lot, and the advantages that we bring to people get diluted. And it's not until people are on the inside that they realise how much difference it makes. So I'm really happy that you guys enjoyed the journey. I'm biased. Obviously, I think my team are awesome, but that's the feedback we get. They are awesome. Fiona, Roy, Hayes, whoever you dealt with in there, Aaron. So yeah, all great people.
And Guru Properties is already trademarked, so don't bother at home. We're already taking over the space.
Love
okay,
it.
So chill out there.
Kat's the acquisitions manager.
That's everything. Don't worry about that. Shout out to her, wherever she may be. We're going to now bring in Hannah once again, just to have a chat to Tony about her experiences, obviously going to the seminar and whatnot and what she took from it and the process after that.
Hannah, g'day.
Hello.
It's great to meet you in person.
Yes, you too.
Obviously, I've heard a lot about you guys being Biz and Breakevans people. I'm going to ask you off camera about your tips and how you support Sam in his super coach, because I don't get the same support. Yeah, my wife doesn't like it when I reach to my phone and look at my super coach team when we're at dinner. But I just want to ask you about the event. Credit to you, really, and I hope Sam doesn't get disappointed with me saying this, but really you're the one who made this happen, because I reckon, as Guru said, like if I'd gone to my wife and gone, oh, listen, we're going to go and talk to these property people about potentially buying an investment property from a super coach podcast, she would have laughed at me. She would have thought I was pulling a joke. So credit to you for not judging the environment and going, okay, well, let's suss out what they've got to say. So tell me about the event. Tell me about, so Owen was the presenter?
Yeah.
And he's got the English accent. So how did you understand what he was saying?
It was fine. It was good. I understood. Basically, I attended via Zoom, so it made it really convenient. I did it from home, which was awesome. It was a Tuesday night, I remember so clearly, and I just didn't have any concept of what rent vesting was or what opportunities could come with it. And when I went to the seminar, they clearly broke down what it was, how it worked, the benefits to it. They really, really went through everything and broke down every aspect of it, as well as talking about how Blue Wealth support you through the process. So it was a real comprehensive overview of what the process looks like. I left there with pretty much no questions, which was very promising. And then Sam and I had a conversation that night, and we were both on board and ready to have a meeting, and it happened pretty quick from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So not only did you attend this event, having been introduced through a Supercoach podcast, but you watched the event probably in your pajamas at home.
Yeah.
So this is getting cooler and cooler. So when you said they explain, I mean, what were the sort of one or two key things you learned that you reckon the listeners would benefit from?
So my biggest thing when it came to properties, I was pretty naive. And I always just viewed it the traditional, you buy somewhere to live, and that's that kind of thing, which I think is really common for people who don't know much about property. So it really, really gave me a new perspective of how you can make property more of a business venture than a personal a personal purchase, and then build that portfolio, which has really driven us to take a different perspective to property. And I think that was probably the biggest aspect. I was looking at it very personally, and one day we might get a home to live in. But at this stage, I think changing that perspective and getting educated that there's other ways of getting into the market was massive for us. And even just the idea of going interstate and the idea that there's areas that are still developing, and Blue Wealth explicitly explains the areas and they provide you with a portfolio on these areas. And when we went through the process itself after the seminar, we got given options as well. So it wasn't like we got, you must buy, not must, but you have this option and that's it. We got given different states, different developments. We got given apartment options or townhouse options. So it felt like we were still making that big choice for ourselves, but we were really supported.
So you ended up in a townhouse
Yep.
in Western Melbourne.
Yes.
Yeah. So Western Melbourne's the fastest growing population in Australia. I'm talking a bit of nerdy stuff now. And as I said to you guys before this, that it's sort of like a movie we've seen before, you know, Western Melbourne is sort of like Western Sydney 15, 20 years ago. And that population is growing rapidly on the back of that sort of movement west. So you and Sam went and had a look at the property.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So once we had gone through the process and put a deposit down and everything, once it had settled, we went and had a look, and we were so stoked, and it was more than what we expected, to be honest. And yeah, I'm so grateful that we took that scary step, because it was still scary, but it felt much more supported than just going out on our own. And it felt really like a big accomplishment, which was really nice.
Well, it is a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of young people in Australia right now, right around Australia, who, if you listen to the media, have just given up.
Yes.
Yeah? We can't buy property. We can't afford it.
Yeah.
We're never going to get into the property market. And you guys could have really just played victim to that. But instead, you opened your mind to it. You went and got educated, and you found someone you could work with, and you did something about it. So
that's it. And we've recommended it to our friends as well. So, I mean, I think it says a lot. If you're recommending it to your loved ones yourself, then it must be a good process.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, that makes me pretty happy.
Yeah. No, I'm really grateful that Sam listens to this podcast.
So's Guru, so's Tim. Although we probably should have asked Sam whether the boys have been any help this year. They don't seem to be going all that well themselves. So.
He's beaten both of us just quietly, so I'm not stoked he's here, rubbing it in my face.
Sam might be the next host.
He would love that.
No, guys, we just want to thank you very much for coming in. I suppose I don't want to speak for Tony as well, but I know that one thing we love about working with Blue Earth Properties is that we're working with good people. And to meet you both and have you both in here and see how much fantastic people you are, it is absolutely unreal. So thank you very much for coming in. And if you are sitting at home and you would like to be a part and go on the same journey as Sam and Hannah have, the link is in the description to do it via Beers and Breakevans. Link up with Tony, Mortz and the rest of the team out of Blue Wealth Property, and they can start your journey today.